Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. That's at forlibertynetwork.com. Good morning. 2024 is out. 2025 is almost in. Are you happy? It's been a very exhausting year. Certainly there have been some incredible highlights in my year. It's been one of the best years of my life, of course, with the birth of my beautiful little baby daughter, Hazel Rose Peterson. She's so pretty. She looks like the perfect little, stereotypical white Gerber baby, you know what I'm saying? Austin, why did you say white? She's a ginger, pure as the driven snow. She'd make a better Snow White than Rachel Zegler, but more like a little mermaid. Like Ariel with red hair. Austin, you're already offending everybody this morning. It's not even 7:10 yet. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Glad to have our friends joining us here live today. I see you all over there. What's up? Kermode Bear. You can always count on Kermode to be hanging out with us right there first thing in the morning. And for that, you shall be rewarded to sit at my right hand in heaven, Kermode. You shall receive salmon every day, fresh caught salmon in the wild. You don't even have to catch it. It will be brought to you, my little furry friend. Good morning. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good and very nice. This morning, we're going to go through the year in politics, 2024, which... I'm just so tired of politics. Maybe not, because you're watching this show. And then we're going to just go through the year in Googling. So what were people talking about politically each month of the year? And then I have a chart that goes through what people were Googling at that time of the year, what we were talking about. We're going to reflect back on 2024. But I'd also love to hear from you on the best, the worst of 2024. And it could be about me. It can be the worst of AP in 2024. AP's been getting a lot of hate online the last few days, as the techno-libertarians and the right-wing socialists, we'll call them, have been battling online over H-1B visas, but really it's about immigration and about other stuff, about whether or not Indian people can assimilate into the United States, et cetera, et cetera. I won't use the R word in case anybody's like, maybe that's what the R word is right there. Then the new R word is No, I meant retarded. Just kidding. We're going to hear from Camellia Peterson about that this morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. Everybody loves Camellia. Oh, Camellia. She's so beautiful. Why don't you date her then? Jeez. At 8:30 a.m. today, Javier MIlei. His first podcast appearance here on the Wake Up America show. No, I'm just kidding. I don't get Javier MIlei. Don't be angry at me. Oh, God. Shut up, Michael Scott. No Javier MIlei, but we are going to talk to Aaron Sepulveda, which he's basically the Javier MIlei of Texas. Aaron Sepulveda, he's an economist, an Austrian economist, and a liberty lover, will be joining us this morning to talk about incredible news out of Argentina. Nature is healing. Who would have thought that by allowing pure, unregulated, free market capitalism take over, that poverty would fall, that inflation would drop, and that goods would start to return to store shelves. Let's hear it. 3 cheers. Huzzah for capitalism. Huzzah for capitalism. Huzzah for capitalism. And I got to say, it's kind of embarrassing because I've made a lot of friends in Argentina over the last year, with my conversing with them about Javier MIlei, talking about Javier MIlei on my show. And a lot of the Argentines who went through all of those years of being a third world socialist hole are looking at what's happening in the United States and the dialogue and the conversation that's going on in the United States and being like, oh my God, they're Peronizing at an unbelievable rate. And what does Peronizing mean? Well, Peron, you remember, Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, right? Madonna in the 1980s, Evita, right? Evita Peron, right? It was the Peron family, right? The fascist socialists, right? Who are still, their family is still hanging on, trying to hold on to power, and Javier MIlei kicked them out, right? Peronizing is becoming fascist socialists And that's what they're talking about here. So we're going to talk to Aaron Sepulveda about that, because here you have the United States doing everything it can to kick itself in the nuts. You get left-wing liberals, or not even liberals, left-wing leftists, and they destroy our country for a while. Then right-wing socialists, they destroy our country for a while. And then they just all take turns over and over again. I'm tired of having my country destroyed by socialists. I'm ready to fight socialists of both parties. Yes. As a matter of fact, I think I remember reading a book by, was it Friedrich Hayek or was it Ludwig von Mises? Somebody check me on this. Somebody's going to know this who's watching the Wake Up America show, who's done the reading, their homework this morning. To the socialists of both parties. Please, somebody fill me in on this one. To the socialists of both parties. It was Friedrich Hayek's Road to Serfdom, AP. To the socialists of all parties. He said, yes, there are left-wing socialists and there are right-wing socialists. No offense.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
And of course, a million billion clips. And if we raise $75 in either Rumble Rants or in purchases at forlibertyshop.com this morning, you will unlock the bonus content. I got something really fun for you guys. Thanks to Sign of Jonah. Hold on. So there was actually like a bit of a misprint, or they made not a misprint, but just like a mistake that they made at the Doge Department of Government Efficiency Factory, where I have my bomber jackets made. And here's the thing, they printed an extra one for us, and Sign of Jonah, he got it and said, hey, I didn't need the second one. He's like, would you like to have it back? And I was like, sure, let's do it as a giveaway. So here we have a beautiful Department of Government Efficiency bomber jacket. Check this out. Designed by moi. And available at forlibertyshop.com. We're going to give this away on Friday, but if you want to just, if you don't want to try and beat the odds, then what I recommend you guys do is head over to forlibertyshop.com and get yourself one of these. I saw somebody else today got themselves a Javier MIlei Afuera bomber jacket as well, which is also there. Very attractive. But yeah, you can find this and more Department of Government Efficiency merchandise over at forlibertyshop.com. So if you want to do some shopping this morning and you want to help to unlock the bonus content, if we hit $75 raised by the end of the show, then the bonus content will be unlocked. You can just buy one jacket and that will do it for today, or you can go and buy some of our new delicious For Liberty. Oh, it's delicious, guys. We had some yesterday. We're sitting around, me and Brad and Steffi, as we were working on the shop. We were drinking some delicious black tea, the Boston Harbor Black. All of the teas are getting a beautiful redesign. All the package, the designs, the custom ones that we're making, they haven't come out yet. So the first run of the tea has just our beautiful logo on it, but the next run of our tea is going to have all of the beautiful custom logos on there. And I'm really excited for you to see all of the beautiful logos. Still the same tea, so give it a try. forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4, libertyshop.com. I don't know who it is this morning. Oh, I should have known who it was. Andy Opperman just unlocked the bonus content. He got the For Liberty. 4 bags of it. You're going to love it, Andy. It's absolutely delicious. Are you sending it to yourself? Are you sending it to yourself? He is sending it to himself. I love tea. I start the morning with Founding Flavors coffee, and then as the afternoon goes on, I switch over to tea, and it helps me breathe and live. Before we start the year in review, and before we have our 2 guests, with all of the left-wing socialism and the right-wing socialism, and let's clean ourselves off. Let's clear the air this morning. We're going to have a little bit of a meditative moment, shall you? I'm going to lead you in a guided meditation, and I want you to just go with me here together as I lead you through this next few minutes of guided meditation, and as we cleanse the socialism from our souls and we become good capitalists again. Take a listen.
Federal employees number 2.5 million, and federal, state, and local, 1 out of 6 of the nation's workforce employed by government. These proliferating bureaus with their thousands of regulations have cost us many of our constitutional safeguards. How many of us realize that today federal agents can invade a man's property without a warrant, They can impose a fine without a formal hearing, let alone a trial by jury. And they can seize and sell his property at auction to enforce the payment of that fine. In Chico County, Arkansas, James Weir overplanted his rice allotment. The government obtained a $17,000 judgment, and a U.S. Marshal sold his 960-acre farm at auction. The government said it was necessary as a warning to others to make the system work. Last February 19th at the University of Minnesota, Norman, because to save our own skins, we're willing to make a deal with your slave master. Problems? Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple. If you and I have the courage to tell our elected officials that we want our national policy based on what we know in our hearts is morally right, we cannot buy our security, our freedom from the threat of the bomb, by committing an immorality so great as saying to 1 billion human beings now enslaved behind the Iron Curtain, give up your dreams of freedom, because to save our own skins, we're willing to make a deal with your slave masters. Alexander Hamilton said, a nation which can prefer disgrace to danger is prepared for a master and deserves one. Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? Well, Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. We will keep in mind and remember that Barry Goldwater has faith in us. He has faith that you and I have the ability and the dignity and the right to make our own decisions and determine our own destiny.
My mother, Donna Jo Peterson, was a Goldwater girl. So was Hillary Clinton. Anyways, let's talk about the year in review, the year in liberty. Starting in January, we're going to go month by month to talk a little bit about some of the biggest news items, and then we'll go month by month again through the items that people were Googling and talking about. In January, we all remember Trump was on the ropes. Defamation case. He was ordered by a jury to pay $83.3 million in damages to E. Jean Carroll in a defamation lawsuit stemming from accusations of sexual assault. Despite this legal setback, Trump won the Iowa caucuses with a significant 51% of the vote, demonstrating his strong support within the Republican Party. This highlighted his resilience against legal challenges. Many of us remember the primary that wasn't. Ron DeSantis was coming up against Donald Trump, hoping that he was going to knock him out, but it was really just a joke. The Republicans who were running against Donald Trump were really just working with the mainstream media to try and create narratives against him, but nobody really cared. Ron DeSantis lost to Donald Trump by 30 points and then said that his ticket was had punched his ticket out of Iowa. Then, essentially got his lights punched out. And he woke up from a daze a week later and yada, yada, yada. He was tired the next morning, decided to drop out. And then everybody, for the most part, normal people, tuned out of politics. And what did the rest of us do who are not normal people, who are insane and weird and strange for whatever reason? We all started focusing on whether or not Taylor Swift was actually a pro-Biden psyop. Remember that conversation? Yes. We had our top minds on it. Laura Loomer focused on the fact that, or the alleged fact, that Taylor Swift's romance with Kansas City Chiefs player Travis Kelce was actually a nefarious NFL Democrat Party joint operation designed to feminize football and to lure beer-drinking working-class American males into voting for Biden. And then America just kind of shrugged their shoulders and then resumed grumbling about how much they hate the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, bring it on, haters. I don't even watch the football, but I'm just glad Kansas City gets a nice economic boost. What happened in February? Biden's debate debacle, everybody remembers, during a televised debate with Donald Trump. Biden's performance was described as lackluster and confusing, leading to widespread concern about his mental acuity. Mental acuity? No.
No, God!
No one was.
No, God, please,
no one was talking about his mental acuity.
No.
Certainly not the mainstream media. They weren't talking about. No one was. But maybe that was the most underreported story of the year. Let's get on the mainstream media and hear what they have to say about that.
Undercovered or underreported, Jan?
Undercovered, underreported. That would be, to me, Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline. That
No way. Joe Biden's cognitive decline. The hell you say? Wait. Let's hear this again. The most underreported story this year, CBS? Really? It's almost as if they're a news organization that could have reported on this.
We also do in the year-end correspondence roundtable is dig into what was undercovered or underreported. Jan?
Undercovered, underreported. That would be, to me, Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline that became undeniable in the televised debate.
At the presidential debate with Donald Trump.
Unquestioned.
Back in February.
And, it's starting to emerge now that his advisors kind of managed his limitations. It's been reported in the Wall Street Journal for 4 years, and yet he insisted that he could still run for president. We should have much more forcefully questioned whether he was fit for office for another 4 years, which could have led to a primary for the Democrats. It could have changed the scope of the entire election.
I guess if you think about it, if you wanted the Republicans to win, then you wanted everything to happen the way that it happened, despite the fact that it involved the lying, crying mainstream media and having to endure leftist TikToks from twinks that are talking about how much they think Biden you're a real man if you vote for Joe Biden. And despite the fact that we all had to endure the white dudes for Kamala Harris campaign. Does everybody remember that? The guys, let's see if I can do it. I'm a real man, and I'm voting for Kamala Harris. And if you don't vote for Kamala Harris, then I'm just gonna go home. I'm just gonna bite my pillow. Is what I'm gonna do. I'm a white dude, real man. It's the year in review and the year in stinky, stinky poo. We're going to speak to Camelia Peterson at 8 a.m. Central Time about the techno-libertarian versus right-wing socialist battle happening online. We're also going to talk about Javier MIlei and poverty falling and declining, as well as inflation. Bites that pillow real hard. Hello. Thank you, Mighty Megatron. The mainstream media, CBS News, the most underreported story, they said, was Biden's cognitive decline. Despite even though way back in February, they had all of this time, way back in February, remember Joe Biden's debate performance versus Donald Trump? No, they couldn't report on, it was underreported. Well, I wonder why. It's almost as if it wasn't by accident, Karen.
The scope of the entire election. Yet, still, incredibly, we read in the Washington Post that his advisors are saying that he regrets that he dropped out of the race.
Yeah.
That he thinks he could have beaten Trump. And I think that is either delusional or they're gaslighting.
President Biden has said repeatedly he was...
Well, here's the thing. Maybe he couldn't have beaten Donald Trump, but what we should do, we should say that we thought he could have beaten Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? So next year, when the left is like melting down and they're like, we should have had Joe Biden run. We should be like, yeah, he could have beat us. He could have beat him, man. If only Joe Biden had been the candidate, then you guys might have had a chance. That's the play next year, okay, guys? We all need to get on the same page about this one next year when they're like, Kamala, if only Joe Biden had stayed in. And Joe Biden's like, in between lucidity and ice cream cones, he's like, I could have won. And that's the story I'm reading this morning, by the way. As Joe Biden is leaving the White House and he's packing up and leaving, he's like, I could have won this thing and we could have stayed in power and all this stuff. Next year, guys, conservatives, libertarians, non-woke 1990s Democrats who joined the party recently. Next year, when they talk about, any Democrat says we should have had Joe Biden in there, then, we just got to, don't disabuse them of that notion. Okay. Because then that just kind of drives the knife in and makes them even more crazy.
During the debate, June 27th in Atlanta, and he's always been fine, and he leaves fine. That is his position.
Wait, what?
Beaten Trump. And I think that is either delusional or they're gaslighting.
President Biden has said repeatedly he was sick during the debate, June 27th in Atlanta, and he's always been fine, and he leaves fine. That is his position, the position of many of his top aides as well, even though there is that reporting.
Robert Costa.
This is some funny shit, man. This is some funny shit. Remember this?
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
I can testify because I've been working very closely with this president for the past 2 years. I've been knowing him for 30 years. And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
Joe Biden has vision. He has knowledge. He has a strategic thinker.
The president is focused. He's detail-oriented. He's always thinking about the big picture.
He is engaging. He is capable. He has an incredible record as president.
And I'm often with him on foreign trips. He's at the top of his game. So he has a vision. He has knowledge. He has judgment. He has a strategic thinking.
I met with the president, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he seemed fine to me.
I have complete confidence in the president. I have watched him expertly guide meetings of staff and cabinet members. I could not have more confidence in the president.
I would just tell you that I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine.
But he is, again, knowledgeable, wise.
Incredibly sharp, incredibly probing, incredible command of the details.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
There is nothing to these challenges, these suggestions that somehow he's not sharp and he's not capable.
We see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issue.
And you're going to see how smart he is and the experience he has.
I say his age is an asset.
Aha!
He's wise.
Yes, he's wise. He has wisdom. He has experience.
And his experience, because of his age and his wisdom, has been invaluable to this country.
A lot of countries, people who've been in office a longer period of time are praised for their wisdom.
I have seen a lot of 72-year-olds not as capable as this 80-year-old.
It is hard for us to keep up with this president.
His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. He's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
And this kind of sense that he's not ready for this job is just a bucket of BS that's so deep, your boots will get stuck in.
Yeah. Wait, here's that right-wing propaganda again.
One of the things we also do in the year-end correspondence roundtable is...
There it is, right-wing propaganda.
Dig into what was undercovered or underreported. Jan?
Undercovered, underreported. That would be, to me, Joe Biden's obvious.
It's right-wing propaganda. All right. Well, since you guys unlocked the bonus content, congratulations. We're going to take a little break. When we get back, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, now December. The year in review of politics when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
A ground-up approach.
Picture a world where freedom thrives, not as a distant dream, but a tangible reality grounded in the adaptability of common law. Libertarianism needs a fresh start, shedding outdated philosophies for practical systems rooted in shared human experience. Traditional libertarianism often leans on abstract ideals and innate rights, making it impractical. These ideologies struggle to address real-world complexities, failing to adapt to society's evolving needs and leaving gaps in their application that undermine the freedom they intend to protect. Enter common law anarchism, a radical yet practical approach. It redefines libertarianism by deriving justice not from abstract laws, but from resolving disputes through adaptable norms. This system acknowledges the dynamic nature of human interaction, offering a framework that evolves with society. Common law emerges from real-life cases and societal norms rather than decrees of centralized power. It has a rich historical pedigree, proven effective over centuries. Its roots in tradition empower communities, providing flexible guidelines for justice and societal order. Common law anarchism's strength lies in its adaptability, evolving with societal changes and challenges. Unlike static legislative systems, it doesn't bind individuals to outdated laws, instead fostering a living set of principles that respond to the current human condition. Justice under common law arises naturally from conflict resolution. By focusing on resolving specific disputes, it emphasizes fair outcomes over rigid procedures. This method creates a more harmonious society where real human experiences shape justice. Imagine a world without a centralized legislative body. Here, common law anarchism thrives, depending on evolved norms rather than imposed laws. This decentralized model empowers individuals while ensuring that peace and order prevail through communal agreement and involvement. Evolved norms under common law anarchism uphold peace while respecting individual autonomy. Just as societies have organically developed over time, these norms protect freedom without sacrificing societal cohesion, balancing peace and personal liberty. Critics argue that common law anarchism might lack authority or uniformity. Yet, its proponents counter that law thrives on local understanding and community standards, offering more equitable justice and greater personal freedoms than centralized systems ever could. Libertarianism, rebuilt from the ground up, can better reflect our society's needs. Let's embrace common law anarchism, bridging the gap between individual freedoms and societal harmony. Engage in dialogue, educate others, and champion this practical evolution of liberty. Become a part of this transformative journey today.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state?
The one thing that I will not forgive them for is their try to steal the joy from this country.
The joy felt by Americans backing the Harris-Walz ticket.
We are joyful warriors. Being joyful is part of the American identity.
The joy factor.
Campaign of joy. You're talking about radical joy.
It is downright joyful.
It looks like a joyous rally. It looks like a joyous occasion.
A real zeal and joy in the campaign.
The joy that you're bringing back to the country.
Joyful, exuberant rally.
Thank you for bringing back the joy.
Power of joy.
Hope and joy.
Something incredibly joyful.
She does it all with a sense of joy.
Joy. Joy.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy. Joy.
Imagine that. American politics. Joyful again.
Joy to the world. Good morning, guys. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Do you know who I is? Do you know who I am? Austin freaking frockin' flaggin' flying Peters. God damn it. And I'm getting old. Too old to be running a podcast live stream. Too old for this stuff. I may be a techno-libertarian, but I'm an old techno-libertarian. I'm 43. Someday soon I'll be 50. And somebody else is going to have to pick up the fight for liberty. Who will step up? Who will stand up and join us here on the For Liberty Network? We are recruiting. We're trying to find more people to do more content, do more shows. Do you want to join the For Liberty Network? Do you want to start your own show? Hit me up. Send me a DM. Slide into the DMs. Or send me a text, 573-319-1586. Or maybe you say to yourself, you know, maybe I would not be good. I, meaning you. Maybe I would not be good at doing a political news talk podcast or some kind of, you know, vaguely right-wing or, you know, podcast. But you know somebody who would and who is willing to commit in 2025, working their asses off. No right-wing socialists like, oh, I don't want to work 80 hours a week. We need the government to protect me from the immigrants who want to work. No. You have to be willing to put in the work. Austin, when have you ever worked a real job, they say? Oh, dude, if you've ever been to downtown Kansas City, take a stroll by Brush Creek. Beautiful Brush Creek in downtown Kansas City, Missouri. Take a look around. Enjoy the beautiful shrubs, the beautiful trees, many of which were hand planted by yours truly. I thank you. I thank you very much. Austin, when have you ever had a real job? Well, if you're ever in Raymore, Missouri, and you have a thought to think of me, and you need to grab a set of batteries or, I don't know, a $16 t-shirt, and you're at the Walmart in Raymore, Missouri, have a thought for me, Austin Peterson, who worked at the Lawn and Garden Center there when I was 16 years old. So, Austin, you never had a real job. Bitch, I work for every single damn penny that I get from this podcasting business. See, that's how you know you're turning into a boomer. Start breaking down, sounding like Joe Biden. Nah, I'm just kidding. So if you or anyone you know may be interested in hosting your own show on the For Liberty Network, hit me up. Send me a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We can't all be like Brandon Meyer and go out crab fishing. Brandon Meyer, I'm pretty sure works like 80 hours a week. He's out on the crab boats. You don't hear Brandon Meyer complaining, do you? No, you don't. I'll sit off the wagon again. Guy, you know what I do? That'd be great is actually use a little Kahlua because I'm still drinking the Martha's Mint collection, which, by the way, guys, we got a brief reprieve on the Martha's Mint, and the holiday coffees are going to be around until mid-January. So for those who love it, you've got another couple weeks. But yeah, a little Kahlua in Martha's Mint would actually hit really quite nicely, actually. So just a reminder, though, for the super fans of the show, that we are off tomorrow. Aww. So yes, I do get one day a year to sleep off a hangover. So tomorrow morning, no Wake Up America show, but we will be back on Thursday, and then we will also be here on Friday for Freedom Family Friday. 2024 was an interesting year. It was an exciting year. Obviously, the number one most exciting thing for me personally was the birth of my beautiful daughter, Hazel Rose Peterson, which I know you guys all love to see her on Fridays. We don't have a babysitter, really, yet, so that can take care of our baby on Friday mornings. And I want Stephanie to be on the show, so we just bring the baby here in the studio. And honestly, every Friday, we're just like looking at the clock, being like, oh, please, God, go to sleep. Please, God, go to sleep. And for whatever reason, she's 5 months old right now. So for 5 months of shows, Freedom Family Fridays, every Friday, baby Hazel has decided to sleep through the first 2 hours of the show. It's been a miracle. So we've got, so you don't wake up tomorrow. No, don't wake up tomorrow morning. Brandon Meyer says, take photos of you being hungover, put it on an AP for Liberty shirt, and I will proudly buy it. I look just kind of like this, except a little drunker. So guys, do me a favor. If you haven't already, make sure you make those purchases at forlibertyshop.com. Today, if you've been looking to buy anything, because it helps me to pay my taxes for the end of the year, guys, right? Okay, good. I don't want to help Austin pay his taxes. Yes, you do. Everybody wants to help Austin pay his taxes. March 2024, we're talking about the year in review, March 2024. NBC hired Ronna McDaniel. Remember this? A lot of people were very mad about that. They immediately faced backlash from their own staff, leading her to she get hired and then fired immediately. And then the incident was kind of used to critique media hypocrisy and bias against conservative figures, which is absolutely true. And even worse than being a conservative is being a libertarian, because then everybody hates you. Get the hell out. Everybody wants to kill the libertarians first. Austin, did you just play the Javier MIlei clip in Argentine Spanish when you should not be doing that? Okay. Whitey White says, if Hazel disappoints you in a few years, you could always exchange her for a spelling bee winning Pajit daughter, just the way the world works. Great idea. Hazel, watch your ass. Conservative outlets like Breitbart or the Daily Wire covered the Ronna McDaniel story extensively, arguing that it exemplified the left's intolerance to conservative viewpoints. Political satire on shows like SNL was criticized for losing its edge, but of course we've been criticizing them for years. Some arguing that it had been overly partisan, focusing more on attacking conservative figures and providing balanced humor. Does everybody remember when Kamala Harris went on SNL right before the election? Did that work out very well for her, or no, it actually didn't help at all? 2024, a year in review. That's what we're talking about this morning. Where's my little marker? There it is. Oh, wait, did we not do all of February? Oh yeah, February too. We didn't finish February, but February, that was when Tucker Carlson went to Moscow and had the interview with Vladimir Putin, and then he did those videos praising the grocery stores and knockoff fast food in Moscow, saying it was McAwesome, the non-GMO version of foods. And then he went for a stopover in Dubai, where he talked down on Americans as morally comparable, if not worse, than violent authoritarian dictatorships. I love that you cannot criticize the American work ethic, right? If you're a libertarian, techno-libertarian like me, you can't criticize the American work ethic. Oh, no. But you can criticize Americans as murderers and Winston Churchill as a greater evil than Hitler, right? You could shit all over the West and the great heroes of Western civilization. But if you dare say that perhaps Americans don't want to work 5 days a week anymore, they want to go to 4-hour work days, and they want to do remote work like the government employees do, and then don't work at all. But I get it. Listen, who wants to work hard? I mean, do you really want to work hard? I guess in some ways. I mean, I do, right? But I understand why some people don't. And those people, what do? Should they be able to just live off of welfare or off of the government? Should we have make work jobs for conservatives that they don't have to work 80 hours a week like Pajit or Anang Mittal or Karpal or, like the guys who will slave away on their wage slavery? I don't know. Let's talk about that at another time and just talk about what happened over the year. In March, Joe Biden was wheeled out of his tomb, pumped full of every stimulant in the White House pharmacy, and sent to Congress by his minders to read an angry, wheezy State of the Union address from the teleprompter. You guys remember where he does this thing with Joe Biden where he'll be like, and then the thing. The thing. Right? That's a Joe Biden impression, right? Where he's like whispering and then he's like yelling at you, right? The media labeled this a demonstration of wakefulness, right? That this declaring Biden is back. They were like, oh my God, Joe Biden, he's back. Everyone was chanting and former doubters were called out in public disgrace, right? Ezra Klein recanted his earlier plea for Biden to leave the race in the New York Times. And then the cruel gods of irony are watching him imperceptibly from afar. Super Tuesday also takes place despite the race for the Republican primary having been, done long ago, right? Lost amidst the romp for Trump is the vote of Chicago's Democratic residents who show up to an uncontested race in one of the bluest cities in the nation, not out of any interest in the primary, but rather out of an abiding hatred for the wildly unpopular Mayor Brandon Johnson, whom they had narrowly elected only a year before. The city votes down his proposed tax increases, permanently crippling his administration's spending plans. Johnson vows to get his money one way or another, and then he turns his attention somewhere else, and then he will return to the narrative later in the year. We'll get back to him. Put a bookmark on that one. In April, left-wing activists were focused on Supreme Court politics. They were starting a media groundswell to try and pressure Justice Sonia Sotomayor, where she was sick, to retire and be replaced before November. Instead, the strong and wise Latina, who concludes that she was fine just where she is, and we all agree, and there she remains. And in secretly related news, it's also revealed to the world that NPR is an institution filled top to bottom with monomaniacally focused left-wing activists. No way. NPR? No. NPR? It's Yuri Berliner, everybody remember this? Back in April when Yuri Berliner worked at NPR for years, says that the whole institution is completely and totally filled from top to bottom with leftists, right? The revelation led listeners and non-listeners alike to respond with a hollow thousand-year stare of boredom. Nobody cared, right? Later that month, in the first of an escalating series of alarming stories about past Republican misadventures with dead animals, Kristi Noem regaled America in her second autobiography, No Going Back, with a tale of shotgunning her pet puppy to death in a gravel pit for disobeying her orders. And apparently snapping at her, she said, but nobody liked it, right? And then this is what proves that she was tough enough to lead, right? It's her ability to do it a second time with a hapless goat that really demonstrated her killer instinct. So there you are. Yes, the No Labels group decided against running a centrist candidate, which conservatives and libertarians interpreted as a sign of the entrenched two-party system's resistance to change. Remember this in April. Now in May, left-wing activists monomaniacally focused on, was it May? April. Sorry, hold on one second, guys. May. I get my months mixed up. Oh, here we go. All right. There we go. In May, after intense pressure within his party and following his debate performances, Biden announced he would not seek re-election. This was seen as a victory for this is April, for a change in Democratic leadership. I think I got my notes mixed up here, guys. Somebody check me on this one. What month did Joe Biden step down? Was it April of last year? Let me know. But in May, left-wing activists focusing on Supreme Court politics discovered the most important threat facing America is the problematic ideas of Martha Ann Alito, who was caught engaging in a symbolic dispute with an unpleasant neighbor via the rarely employed rhetorical language of flags. The good faith assessment from the media is that Justice Alito should immediately retire and be replaced before the November election. Everybody remembers the appeal to heaven flags that caused all of that trouble? Yes. So Alito's wife, right, was flying the appeal to heaven flag. Therefore, Alito should step down or recuse himself because his wife flew an American Revolution flag that George Washington commissioned and that was used in the defense of our liberties. Very funny, very stupid. That was May. In related news, a mixture of student and professional protesters flying Hamas flags and wearing keffiyehs swarm elite university campuses across America to protest the existence of the Jewish state, vandalize property, and get high in brand new Soros-bought tents from his REI Corporation. There you go. That was in May. Later that month, a Manhattan jury convicted Donald Trump of 34 felonies for a single misdemeanor, concealing hush money payments made by Trump to adult film star Stormy Daniels during the 2016 campaign. America held its breath and wondered what on earth could possibly be weirder in the 2024 campaign than a presidential candidate running for office as a convicted felon. America, good-natured, fundamentally honest suckers that we are, never sees it coming. Camelia Peterson to talk about the techno-libertarians versus right-wing protectionists, whatever you want to call them. That's the kind word. Is there a kind word for people who believe in more government, bigger government, more authoritarian government? I don't have any nice words to say. Maybe Camelia does. She's a lot nicer than me. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
A ground-up approach. Picture a world where freedom thrives, not as a distant dream, but a tangible reality grounded in the adaptability of common law. Libertarianism needs a fresh start, shedding outdated philosophies for practical systems rooted in shared human experience. Traditional libertarianism often leans on abstract ideals and innate rights, making it impractical. These ideologies struggle to address real-world complexities, failing to adapt to society's evolving needs and leaving gaps in their application that undermine the freedom they intend to protect. Enter common law anarchism, a radical yet practical approach. It redefines libertarianism by deriving justice not from abstract laws, but from resolving disputes through adaptable norms. This system acknowledges the dynamic nature of human interaction, offering a framework that evolves with society. Common law emerges from real-life cases and societal norms rather than decrees of centralized power. It has a rich historical pedigree, proven effective over centuries. Its roots in tradition empower communities, providing flexible guidelines for justice and societal order. Common law anarchism's strength lies in its adaptability, evolving with societal changes and challenges. Unlike static legislative systems, it doesn't bind individuals to outdated laws, instead fostering a living set of principles that respond to the current human condition. Justice under common law arises naturally from conflict resolution. By focusing on resolving specific disputes, it emphasizes fair outcomes over rigid procedures. This method creates a more harmonious society where real human experiences shape justice. Imagine a world without a centralized legislative body. Here, common law anarchism thrives, depending on evolved norms rather than imposed laws. This decentralized model empowers individuals while ensuring that peace and order prevail through communal agreement and involvement. Evolved norms under common law anarchism uphold peace while respecting individual autonomy. Just as societies have organically developed over time, these norms protect freedom without sacrificing societal cohesion, balancing peace and personal liberty. Critics argue that common law anarchism might lack authority or uniformity. Yet, its proponents counter that law thrives on local understanding and community standards, offering more equitable justice and greater personal freedoms than centralized systems ever could. Libertarianism, rebuilt from the ground up, can better reflect our society's needs. Let's embrace common law anarchism, bridging the gap between individual freedoms and societal harmony. Engage in dialogue, educate others, and champion this practical evolution of liberty. Become a part of this transformative journey today.
to America. I do promise, but I happen to agree. That's why I promise. Otherwise, I wouldn't promise. Let me just tell you that it's so sad when we lose people from Harvard, MIT, from the greatest schools, and lesser schools that are phenomenal schools also. And what I wanted to do, and I would have done this, but then we had to solve the COVID problem because that came in and, sort of dominated for a little while, as you perhaps know. But what I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. Anybody graduates from a college, you go in there for 2 years or 4 years. If you graduate or you get a doctorate degree from a college, you should be able to stay in this country. And you know more stories than I do, but I know of stories where people graduated from a top college or from a college, and they desperately wanted to stay here. They had a plan for a company, a concept, and they can't. They go back to India, they go back to China, they do the same basic company in those places, and they become multi-billionaires employing thousands and thousands of people.
Good Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. Good morning, pineapples. You're looking very good to very nice. It's the Wake Up America show. That's what America will sound like if we follow Donald Trump's plan to staple a green card to every diploma. We got to stop the green cards for the diplomas and the learning people. And we got to stop the H-1Bs because they're working at 7-Elevens. Elon Musk, though, he could stay, except if he supports the H-1Bs, then he's out of the MAGA movement. And then if Donald Trump says he supports Elon Musk in the MAGA movement, then Trump's out of MAGA too. And then Rand Paul and Thomas Massie are also the bad guys because they opposed the spending bill that Trump supported. What we need to do, first of all, once we take power, kill all libertarians. Joining us live right now.
That sounds reasonable to me, right?
Kill all libertarians, Camellia. Good morning. Hey, happy early, almost New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. And by the way, it would be impossible to kill all the libertarians because there are no real libertarians, duh.
Oh, exactly. Thank you. I like the comment somebody made earlier where it was like, yeah, if you don't kill all libertarians, then we'll kill each other. No problem. So,
well, for real, right?
Exactly. You don't have to kill all the libertarians. We'll do it for you. I'm glad to have you here, Camellia. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming in 2025. But before we do, did you pause for a moment and think about 2024? Are you glad it's over? Sad it's over? And like any highlights, lowlights, stories that remained uncovered, would you say? What would you say if you're looking back on 2024? Good riddance, or wish you would go back?
Yeah, 2024 was a really mixed year. I mean, there's lots of good things, right? I have like an enormous list of things to be grateful for. That said, I'm pretty glad it's in the rearview mirror. There were a lot of things that I can live without doing again, and it was certainly a mixed bag of a year, and I'm definitely looking forward to 2025.
Yeah, no, me too. 2024 was a challenging year, but it will, I think, go down obviously as one of the greatest years of my life for the fact that I had a beautiful baby girl, Hazel, coming into my life. So I can't hate 2024 entirely. And we had a great year for our business. Our coffee really took off. We launched our tea brand finally, and For Liberty shop doubled in size. And so did, and we launched the For Liberty Network. So a lot of good things did happen.
Yes.
And we averted the disaster of having to listen to.
Okay.
Can you imagine 8 years of that? Of 8 years of Kamala Harris?
No, I would just be going into hiding. I'm pretty sure I would be on a 4-year media fast. And if it was 8 years, I'm pretty sure at the end of those 4 years, I would be looking to move.
No kidding.
That would be really tempting.
Yeah. I kind of buy into the conspiracy theory, Camellia, that all of this H-1B controversy is really just ginned up to try and take down the Department of Government Efficiency, because the real danger, the real threat to Washington, D.C. right now is coming from two people, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. And in order for some people to be able to do what they want to do and continue the status quo, those two people outside of D.C. and then Thomas Massie and Rand Paul inside of D.C. are the biggest threats to the status quo. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. And what's interesting to me is that there's been this discussion about, how can you just create a new government agency? But, DOGE is really not, an official government agency, so to speak. I am a little curious as to structurally how it's set up, if it can receive any government funding. I thought not, but they are also actually hiring for positions. And when I saw them posting about that, that tells me that they're really serious about this. And it's not something that is just going to be Elon and Vivek, talking about and making their own recommendations. They're pulling from all of these people, and they're actually investing in putting the personnel in place to get it done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that too, and I said, "This is smart. This is what they need to be doing. Trying, building an infrastructure right now so that the Department of Government Efficiency can build and grow and accomplish at least some of their mission." Now, I am a little bit cynical, so I'm not 100% certain that $2 trillion of cuts is really going to happen, because Donald Trump has even said for his own spending priorities, he's got a lot of big budget, big ticket items of things that he wants to spend on. And it's so $2 trillion to me always was pie in the sky. But here's the thing, even if they get, a few $100 million, right? If they manage to get let's say they get, 20, 30 billion at the end, I'll still see that as a big success, because I expect, here's what I expect. What I want is for them to get the $2 trillion in cuts. What I expect is for government spending to increase and the national debt to explode. What about you?
Well, yes, we have learned to manage our expectations.
Yes.
So, if they could get even 5 or 10% of the things that they have talked about done, I would be thrilled.
For sure. But there's been the first indication of of what possibly could happen, or what we might expect in the new year with the incoming Trump administration. It was not this H-1B techno-libertarians versus right-wing populists battle that's been happening over on X in the last few days. It was actually the fight over the debt ceiling and the government spending bill over the last few weeks. That was the more real, more substantive debate, which might be a sneak preview of what's to come, right?
Sure. And, Trump's support of Mike Johnson, this is definitely a departure from his base. They really not happy about this, and for good reasons. I think for reasons that all of us would agree with. Elon and Vivek are not in agreement with him either. I saw that, Thomas Massey had posted a reminder of when Johnson he gave the Democrats billions of dollars to send to Ukraine. And there's this moment on the floor when they're all cheering and waving their Ukrainian flags. And he's like, remember when this happened? And it was under Mike Johnson's watch. And, so Thomas Massey has been the consistent voice in all of this, of course, and Elon did respond to that. And he was basically like, well, let's see what happens. Let's give it a chance. And that's nice. I appreciate it. I'm sure he knows that it's probably, he probably knows what's up. Right. Yeah. But it's just, there is that rift. And I think this goes to the larger MAGA problem, and kind of looking forward, leads into the question of what happens on the right when it's not Trump anymore. Because I think it's the larger MAGA problem of they have wanted Trump to be something so bad that fits what their mold is, that they project onto him positions that he's never held. If you can see one thing for Trump is that he's been pretty darn consistent, whether it's about abortion, whether it's about immigration.
Right.
It's just that when people don't want to hear that, they either, slide it under the carpet or, say something else, right?
Right. They think, everybody wants to sort of place their views on the leader in order to try and justify why their support for them. Oh, well, he must secretly support this. He must secretly support these things. But Trump's been...
It's 8D chess. It's always 8D chess,
Yeah, well,
right.
But here's the thing. Trump has always been very clear about legal immigration versus illegal immigration. But I think that probably the confusion lies in the fact that he does have people in his circle who are for, net negative immigration, right? We need
Stephen Miller.
Right? We have to send back people who are legal American citizens who have already been naturalized and come to the United States through the legal process. They need to go back, which if that's the case, then, people like Milo Yiannopoulos and some of the other ones have to go back. They have to go back to the United Kingdom and fight it out there. A lot of Canadians too, for example. But no, Trump, the incoming Trump administration, if they spend like crazy, if he gets in there and he starts spending like crazy, we're going to see more inflation, and people are not going to be happy. And he could destroy his legacy if he's not careful. If Trump is wise, if Trump is smart, he will keep Elon Musk living at the shanty outside of Mar-a-Lago where he's rumored to be sleeping at these days, and will continue to listen to Vivek Ramaswamy and even to bring in closer his buddy Javier MIlei, who we're going to be talking about here in 15 minutes. He will listen to these techno-libertarians without whom he would never have won this election this year. Because let's be honest, I mean, Camelia, people like yourself, right, like more moderate right-wing people, right, you probably, like, a big part of the deal was Elon and Vivek for people like yourself, right?
Sure. I mean, I've always said that what I look for is who Trump surrounds himself with, because we learned first time around just how important that is. And I'm not saying he doesn't have any of his own positions, but I do think that, you know, he's shown that he has made some poor decisions, you know, based on the people who are around him and choosing the people who are around him. So it was very encouraging to me to see that he had obviously learned that. And I want somebody who learns and changes what they do based on what they've learned. Like, that's a good character quality.
Yeah,
and
no,
so,
for sure.
Them being in there, like, that's what gives me more hope about the whole thing.
Oh, for sure. It makes sense to have the Department of Government Efficiency operate outside the White House. I know a lot of people who are mad at Elon and Vivek these days are like, good, that's how we can, you know, marginalize them and keep them out. But I think that if it had been some kind of attempt to do some internal government thing, it would have gotten twisted like everything government does. And I think that it would have been really, really painful when the Democrats eventually took it over and made it do the opposite of what it was meant to do. The Department of Government expediting spending as much as you can, Doges.
Yeah, and to his credit, like, you know, even though, you know, Vivek and Elon have really, like, riled the base up over the last several days, to his credit, Trump has come out and defended them and showed solidarity, and I think that that's really important.
Were you surprised that Trump came out and supported Elon? I'll be honest. I was actually kind of surprised.
I was a little bit surprised. I expected him to just, like, stay quiet about it, because I don't think that he's in a position for everybody who thinks that Trump doesn't need anybody. The truth of the matter is that Trump needed Elon and Vivek in that election, and especially Elon. I don't think there's any way that he actually would have pulled it off if it had not been for Elon coming in and doing what he did. And so I think that, you know, he recognizes that. I think it's probably, my guess is that it would be kind of a challenge for him too, though, you know, because I don't think he necessarily likes to be eclipsed by someone else. And here you have all of these, you know, Democrats crying about, you know, Elon being the de facto president.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I'm like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, the left is already trying to drive a wedge between Donald Trump and his supporters, and Elon Musk and Donald Trump because they know that the problem with Elon and Donald, of course, is they do have huge egos, which anybody would have in their position. Sure. So those kinds of personalities, they will clash. Okay, give me just one moment. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning, guys. I'm Austin Peterson. Welcome to the show. Looks like we've got a nice little Rumble bump over there. It's probably because I'm wearing my Rumble hat today. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show and you end up enjoying this content, then do please click the like button underneath the video feed and click the follow button as well, most importantly, because while a like will last one video, a follow can last forever. So click the follow button so you can come back and join us, because this show is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. And I'm going to continue. I'm going to do a quick little plug while I have Camelia fiddle with her microphone a little bit, because fiddling with your microphone is kind of like popping and beeping when it hits the very top of its range, Camelia. So I'm going to let you fiddle with that while I tell everyone thank you for gifting subscriptions. Is this new? Random Dude 445, is that you making it rain? Everybody's gifting memberships. Oh, it was gifted by Steelbringer. There we go. Wow. So this is a new thing over on Rumble. Apparently you can now gift memberships and subscriptions. I hope that you'll enjoy it. So now here's the thing, real quick, and then we're going to bring Camelia back in here in just a second. Real quick, now that you are a member, like a paid subscriber, somebody gifted it for you guys, you now have access to the best of the emojis. So now is your opportunity. If you didn't know this before, you now have access to powerful weapons, knives, machine guns, AK-47s, real working fire bombs, jets, all the way up to nuclear bombs. So if you guys want to harness the energy of the sun and use any of my incredible weaponry, that it's now unlocked to you because you're a monthly paid subscriber thanks to Steelbringer. Yes, there you go. Gifting memberships is new. There you go. Yes, somebody cashed out their crypto gains, says Floby Tenderson. Camelia Peterson, are you still with us?
I hope so.
Okay, you sound better.
On the wrong microphone.
You sound,
Is that better?
Yeah, you sound way better now. Thank you.
Okay,
Everybody can
sorry,
say thank you,
I was on the wrong
Camelia, for fixing your stupid microphone. Look at that. See, everybody's using all their emojis, but there you go. Use all those emojis, guys. Go find the nuclear bombs and all the fun stuff over there. Thanks, everybody, and thank you, Steelbringer. Very grateful for all of the new friends and fans. Well, I'm talking with Camelia Peterson this morning about the techno-libertarians, the conservatives in the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, and Donald Trump MAGA. But there is a chance Donald Trump will listen to Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk. I mean, we could be entering a new golden age, right? If all signs point to green, stock markets continue to rise, 2025 could be the greatest year ever. We really, we may make America great again if we listen to Rand Paul and Thomas Massey, right? If we listen to Elon and Vivek and Javier MIlei.
I mean, there are some big things that need to be done, and they need to be done right away. And one of those things is extending the tax cuts that Trump put into place the first time around.
Yes, focus.
And so it is like that is part of the problem with everybody with their hair on fire. And I would like to say that, we like to say, Twitter is not real life, but I think that we kind of need to start accepting the reality that Twitter is becoming actually real life. It's expanded so much. I think, we have lots of boomers that are on Twitter now, right? It is just, I think it's really grown and expanded in its influence and reach. And so I don't know that we can say that so lightly anymore. But yes, it's like it's a huge distraction from the things that are really important, because the things that are really going to affect the health and welfare of our country are getting the illegal immigration problem. I mean, like doing something about that. Like, I don't know, can you fix it? But you've got to do something. You have to stem that tide. And then also making sure that we don't lose those tax cuts are in place, because things have been bad enough the way it is. Imagine, as it's going to take the economy a little bit of time to recover, but imagine if we lose those tax cuts at the same time as we're still dealing with the inflation that is in place.
No, and you're right to focus in on those tax cuts. That's what is going to ensure long-term prosperity here in the United States. Camelia, is that not? We're talking about boomers on X. Are you in a rocking chair? What is this? You want to read us a story?
I fully expected you to bring that up. I know, my home has gotten entirely kind of switched around over the holidays and rearranged, and so I am in a rocking chair. And I will tell you, since you have a newish baby, that this is probably, when you have your first baby, you tend to go a little overboard, right? I mean, you want to, and I say that, but I will say that, some of the investments, shall I say, that we made with that first baby, this is one of those things, and it was a good investment, and it's lasted for a long time, and it's very comfortable, and it may make me look like an old lady, but that's okay. I'm just going to get out my crochet and
I'm Camelia.
This is where I'm going to be sitting tonight, totally not going anywhere. Just going to sit.
Yeah, we invited you over to our house to party, and you decided not to come. We know, yeah.
I did my running over the weekend, and we had a send off for Missouri's own Will Scharf, like you guys have heard from him a lot, and so he's going to be Trump's staff secretary. So really excited about that, and he's just a great guy. And I got to know Will from circles, the circles with you, and so it was really neat. There were a lot of people there that you probably would have known back from the 2018-19.
Yeah, I love being able to name drop people. Are like Will Scharf. You know Will Scharf? Oh my God, he comes on your show. I'm just like, yeah, go ahead, brush your shoulders off. Camelia, is there any last minute words that you want to say in 2024 to our good listeners on the Wake Up America shows for Liberty Network and the 550 people tuned in live over on Rumble right now?
We're going to be okay.
That's what we needed to hear.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, this is, I have a lot of optimism for 2025, but like we were talking about, we have to stay focused. And I'll tell you, like, here, like, it's even in Missouri, because, for the stuff that's been happening on the national level with the whole H-1B, brouhaha and whatever, there's kind of our local state level version of that kind of drama as well. And it's easy to get in that bubble and get really distracted and get very negative, and like everything is stupid. But we have to remember that that's not necessarily the majority. Most people, believe it or not, are out there living their lives and aren't neck deep in politics. They should be more, but anyway. So we need to stay focused, eye on the prize, and I think we're gonna have a great year.
I love it. Absolutely. It's going to be a great year filled with happiness and joy, because we've got Camellia Tuesdays and Thursdays here on the Wake Up America show at 8 a.m. Central Time every week. Thank you, Camellia, for all you've done for us this year, and we look forward to you in the new year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
One thing that I will not forgive them for is their try to steal the joy from this country.
The joy felt by Americans backing the Harris-Walz ticket.
We are joyful warriors. Being joyful is part of the American identity.
The joy factor.
Campaign of joy.
You're talking about radical joy.
It is downright joyful.
It looks like a joyous rally. It looks like a joyous occasion.
A real zeal and joy in the campaign.
The joy that you're bringing back to the country.
Joyful, exuberant rally.
Thank you for bringing back the joy.
Power of joy.
Hope and joy.
Something incredibly joyful.
She does it all with a sense of joy.
Joy. Joy.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy. Joy.
Joy.
Joy.
Joy. Joy.
Imagine that. American politics. Joyful again.
If you've never worked on presidential campaigns, they always put out memos, and the memos will say, use words like, when they go out on television, use words like joyful or joy, or talk about the joy being brought back. And that's why you hear it. Is it a conspiracy? Absolutely. And that's why we're all glad to listen to the Wake Up America show, where you have a former presidential candidate giving you the inside scoop, the poop. Talking about 2024. One of the things that gave me so much joy in 2024 was seeing the outright domination of libertarian president of Argentina, Javier MIlei. Afuera. The greatness of Javier MIlei in taking the principles that I've been advocating for now 2 generations, 20 years fighting for the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty, to see them actually put in action in a real world experiment with a giant nation, the 8th largest nation in the world, now going from zero to hero. We're going to talk about that with Aaron Sepulveda. But before we do, I also have to say thank you, because I owe a huge debt of gratitude to our friends over at rumble.com, who have helped me to build a podcast network, to be able to build my merchandise store, forlibertyshop.com, forlibertynetwork.com, and to build up my brand, and to be able to do this job 5 days a week, which I love. And I get up every day, 4:30 a.m. Central, roll into the studio at 5:30 a.m., meet Nelson. Thank God for Nelson. We also owed Nelson a big debt of gratitude. Thank you, Nelson, who volunteered to come in. We added Brad Beckman. We're still working with Angelo, who's open for pardon on day one. And my wife, Stephanie, who, even though she was pregnant this year, and even though she was nursing a child, still stepped up, wrote a lot of the marketing emails and text messages for the Wake Up America show's merchandise shop. She's been incredible. All of the people here, like Daniela Pensack and Brian Piotr and Jordan Marinovich, the king of all libertarians. Thank you. But thank you especially to Rumble, because when Rumble first started back in 2013, they built the platform for people like me who will never be able to succeed on a platform like YouTube because of my hardcore right-wing political views, and because I use the word, retarded sometimes in titles. Can't do that. On Rumble, you can. They don't censor. Rumble held the line. So if you do watch our show on Rumble and you enjoy the show and you want to support Rumble, I know sometimes people complain about the ads, but the way to be able to enjoy the Wake Up America show on Rumble with an ad-free viewing experience other than my own ads that I read is to become a premium monthly supporter. I am a premium member of rumble.com and it starts at just $10 a month. But if you do buy an annual subscription, then you can get a $10 off promo code if you use the word studio when you check out at rumble.com/premium. That's rumble.com/premium. Let's show Rumble some love, guys, because they have stepped up and made it possible for people like me who you would have ordinarily never heard from or never heard of without rumble.com. Let's show them some love and become premium members like I am at rumble.com/premium. Use the promo code studio for $10 off. Okay, guys? Thank you. And when we get back, Javier MIlei goes from zero to hero. Inflation, down. Cost of living, down. Poverty, down. God, I'm down bad with Javier MIlei. Sometimes I think some jokes and I think maybe I shouldn't say them. No, don't say it. We'll be right back with Aaron Sepulveda on the Wake Up America show.
A ground-up approach. Picture a world where freedom thrives, not as a distant dream, but a tangible reality grounded in the adaptability of common law. Libertarianism needs a fresh start, shedding outdated philosophies for practical systems rooted in shared human experience. Traditional libertarianism often leans on abstract ideals and innate rights, making it impractical. These ideologies struggle to address real-world complexities, failing to adapt to society's evolving needs and leaving gaps in their application that undermine the freedom they intend to protect. Enter common law anarchism, a radical yet practical approach. It redefines libertarianism by deriving justice not from abstract laws, but from resolving disputes through adaptable norms. This system acknowledges the dynamic nature of human interaction, offering a framework that evolves with society. Common law emerges from real-life cases and societal norms rather than decrees of centralized power. It has a rich historical pedigree, proven effective over centuries. Its roots in tradition empower communities, providing flexible guidelines for justice and societal order. Common law anarchism's strength lies in its adaptability, evolving with societal changes and challenges. Unlike static legislative systems, it doesn't bind individuals to outdated laws, instead fostering a living set of principles that respond to the current human condition. Justice under common law arises naturally from conflict resolution. By focusing on resolving specific disputes, it emphasizes fair outcomes over rigid procedures. This method creates a more harmonious society where real human experiences shape justice. Imagine a world without a centralized legislative body. Here, common law anarchism thrives, depending on evolved norms rather than imposed laws. This decentralized model empowers individuals while ensuring that peace and order prevail through communal agreement and involvement. Evolved norms under common law anarchism uphold peace while respecting individual autonomy. Just as societies have organically developed over time, these norms protect freedom without sacrificing societal cohesion, balancing peace and personal liberty. Critics argue that common law anarchism might lack authority or uniformity. Yet, its proponents counter that law thrives on local understanding and community standards, offering more equitable justice and greater personal freedoms than centralized systems ever could. Libertarianism, rebuilt from the ground up, can better reflect our society's needs. Let's embrace common law anarchism, bridging the gap between individual freedoms and societal harmony. Engage in dialogue, educate others, and champion this practical evolution of liberty. Become a part of this transformative journey today.
What are the prices? Let's say the issue of price. First off, since October, we have practically no variation. I mean, there aren't any changes in posters. I mean, what happened last year with constantly changing posters and even putting a paper on top of it all ended up like this. Let's say as merchants who had to stock merchandise, to resist the increases that were coming over the gondola, this year we're more relaxed. I mean, we buy what we need and we sell it on time. We no longer need deposits anymore. So the law of supply and demand is working better because even offers, 2 for ones, and those promotions are part of a cost or price drop. Clearly, Hugo, understand that evidently the merchandise, I think that the businessmen or majorities last year, or maybe in January of this year, marginated thinking today we're going to have $1. How much was it? From 1,800 to 2,000 pesos? Well, that's not reality. That is why evidently many reflect on the fact that the merch doesn't break and then prices start dropping. And let's say what we see for January and February is that, well, you can take a vacation and obviously sales are going to drop, but evidently there will be better prices. That's why the recommendation for people, don't buy more than what they need, because next week it may find them cheaper. Unlike last year when people charged their salaries and went out shooting because he had to supply dinner, the other day his price changed. That's Argentina's Javier MIlei. Libertad avanza. Viva la libertad, carajo. Good morning. One of the best parts of 2024 has been seeing the incredible victories of Javier MIlei of Argentina. And no, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows. You know, libertarians, we shouldn't be utopians either and just say, well, if you just apply Austrian economics, everyone will be happy and it will be like puppies and kittens and rainbows, like Sean Penn in Team America World Police, where he's talking about Iraq and he's like, it was like puppies and kittens and rainbows. There are no perfect solutions, there are only better solutions, and Argentina was in a tight spot until the man, the lion of Argentina roared. I'm not going to roar really loud here, right, guys? It'll be quite entertaining. Speckles of flecks of spit flying everywhere. It's the Wake Up America show where we look south and we find ourselves right back where we started from. The principles of 1776. You know, individual liberty, right? Economic freedom, all the good stuff that the Founding Fathers talked about. Yeah, they're doing it in America. Not our America, in South America. Joining us now to discuss is an expert on Latin American affairs. He's an economist. He's the Javier MIlei of Texas. We'll call him Aaron Sepulveda, joining us live this morning. Good morning, Aaron. Buenos dias.
Muy buenos dias. Good morning, guys. I do appreciate you saying I'm the MIlei of Texas because that's kind of like a totally a compliment. Things are great in Argentina, and I don't know if you guys remember, I told you guys, hey, I was looking in the middle of the year, real wages, like the purchasing power wages were going up, and I said, I think we're in a recovery already, which I thought it was going to take a year, and MIlei thought it was going to take 2 years. It took less than 6 months.
So what happened, Aaron?
April.
What happened? So what are we talking about here exactly? We're talking about prices overall, like retail prices, production.
We were in a recession since the mid of 2023. So this wasn't even like a MIlei thing. It was just coming already, which makes sense why even people that were in the middle, were going and saying, we need to vote this guy. I don't understand what Austrian economics is. I don't understand what libertarianism is.
They were voting for Miller. They were voting for Miller.
We were voting for Miller. There you go. Whichever that guy is with a big hair, we're going to vote for that guy. Because at least, remember I told you guys the first time, even Oscar Ruggeri, a very famous soccer player, World Cup champion, said, whatever you can tell, the guy's telling us what he's going to do. At least I know, and I can make him accountable to something. And guess what? He literally did what he said it was going to be done. And we thought that there was going to be a big contraction for a year or even 2 years. And it only lasted until April. We hit the bottom in April, and then recovery started going up, and poverty went down. Production goods and services went up. Inflation, yes, prices will continue to rise in pesos, but at a much lower rate than before. You guys need to understand, 2% a month, it's ridiculous. For Argentinians, this is amazing. These guys had 6%. Just imagine having a normal rate of inflation of 6% a year. These guys brought it down to 2%. So this is just incredible. Unemployment is going down, inflation is going down at the same time. And this is another one for the people that say that there's a trade-off between unemployment. Oh, in order to get unemployment down, you have to get inflation up. For the last 40 years, we've been saying, no, that's not the case. Many of you guys know Dr. Lawrence White. I just pulled out a tweet about correcting Oliver Blanchard, a very high prominent economist from the United States, saying, no. This is causal. Inflation, high inflation causes unemployment to go down. And we were saying, no, since last year, 2 years ago, that's not the case. We had data for that, and Argentina is giving us even more data. No, we don't need more inflation to get the unemployment down. We need less paperwork.
No hay la plata. There's no more money. Javier MIlei swept power on the back of people who don't know who he is. They call him Millers. They call them now his followers call themselves Miller intellectuals. And it's an unbelievable situation that we have because, I supported Donald Trump in part because of his association with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy here, who are, much closer ideologically to Javier MIlei than other American politicians may be. But what Javier MIlei is doing in Argentina, as you've demonstrated here, is an incredible case study for us to look at. And for some reason, even though, and you've seen people fighting online, we're going to talk a little bit about the techno-libertarian, right-wing socialist fight that's been going on here in just a moment. But for some reason, Donald Trump, he agreed with Elon Musk on the H-1B visa issue. He is his favorite leader around the world is an anarcho-capitalist libertarian who is in some ways doing the opposite of what Donald Trump is doing. Because the question of tariffs and international trade, Argentina right now, they're trying to get trade, right? They're trying to get more people to come in. They're lowering taxes on imports to try and build their economy, aren't they?
Yes. I got something weird over here on my computer. I'm sorry, but I got it right. Okay, yes. You see, this is the problem. A lot of people were complaining. And yesterday I got this specific question. Why is it that MIlei took so long to drop some of the tariffs? Now he's dropping them, but you see, not. He took forever. On the one side, taxes to get pesos out of circulation. That's the sad reality. That's just what we were facing. There was no way we could do it any other way.
To bring inflation down.
There was no way out of it. That's it. We didn't like it, but this is very important. Someone asked, how come they're doing it until now? And I said, because they're taking away regulations and, more importantly, paperwork, and they're firing a bunch of bureaucrats. We call them gnocchis in Argentina.
Gnocchis?
Gnocchis, yeah.
Like a potato gnocchi?
I absolutely love that example. That's how you pronounce it, gnocchi. That's perfect. Yeah. The bureaucrats that are just sitting down doing nothing, I usually say that those are the cause of inflation, because since they have political power, they push for more spending, and the more spending creates more money. Therefore, it does pushes prices up. As soon as they started firing them and go to work to the private sector to produce goods and services, strangely enough, we got lower inflation and economic growth at the same time, when people said that was not possible. So that's why that one is so key. That yes, the bureaucratic size does make a big difference, and that's why Doge is so important, guys.
Yeah,
almost every problem that we have right now that we're going to be discussing between tech and MAGA, if you ask me, it has to do with the fact that we can lower paperwork, and lowering paperwork, it's a lowering of taxes, guys, because think about this. Money is not the only resource. If they lower regulations and paperwork, they're giving you time for you to produce. That's time that you were wasting. Have the resource.
One of the big accusations against Javier MIlei from many of the people here in the United States, there are a lot of, leftists obviously hate him, but there are a lot of right-wing critics of Javier MIlei, and they'll point to the poverty rate in Argentina as an example of, look what Javier MIlei has done to his country. The poverty rate is sky high, and it's because of Javier Milei's libertarian economic plans. How would you respond to that?
He has collapsed well below where he picked, not just where the height, the peak of 50 some, it dropped it down to 38 and below, which is lower than the way that he received in December. So there's less poverty than before Milei.
So so by the latest measure, the poverty rate has actually come down. So another right-wing or leftist talking point, Milei hating, libertarian hating talking point demolished.
Now, this is very interesting. Thanks to you guys, or I blame you guys for this very issue. The poverty rate was like the big issue that leftists and critics were using, because the poverty rate reports from the statistical index, the statistical institute in Argentina, were from the midway in the year, the second semester, and people were still talking about it as if it was current data in September and in December.
Yeah.
So
they were using old data to attack him with.
And we were saying, no, that's not the way it is. It's just the normal. There's 3 universities, 3 institutes, private, that keep track of this precisely because the official place, the official statistical institute was discovered as cheating, misquoting data, faking some data. There were private institutions that started keeping up of a lot of different data, including inflation and poverty rate. There's 3 of them. By November, we already had it below 40. We were in the 30 some by the private sector, and usually until next year, the index, the official institute for statistics from the government, was going to recognize it. So what the government said, guys, this is just silly. What we can actually see it live, and I have the link. I've been literally posting over and over. You can see it live. 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 And they do a little average. The average in the last 6 months, including November, it went below 38 already, which is below what was before. So they rushed it and said, guys.
Right. I believe you, Aaron. I hate to cut you off, but there's so much I want to talk to you about that I don't want to miss an opportunity, especially because this is the last time we're going to get to talk to you this year. If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. I can imagine that for many of you who are watching the Wake Up America show, joining us over here on Rumble, it's probably the very first time you might have seen the show, considering that we don't typically have 623 people tuning in to the live show. But when we do, I know it's because Rumble decided to give us a bump. So thank you to Rumble, and thank you for watching. I'd love to capture this audience, and the way for me to do that is to ask you to click the follow button underneath the video stream that you're watching right now. If you click the follow button before you leave, you will get notifications whenever this show goes live. But because you're of above average IQ, obviously you're here on Rumble, you'll probably remember if I just tell you that Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, that's the Wake Up America show's schedule. And you hear great interviews like the one I'm having right now with an economist, Aaron Sepulveda. We're talking about the incredible victories and the miracle of the drastic reduction in the poverty rate in Argentina, a reduction in the inflation rate. And now we're starting to even hear from grocery stores on the front lines of the inflationary fight, talking about goods and services starting to return, discounts on products starting to return in Argentina. I loved that interview. I played it right before you came on, Aaron. You probably couldn't hear it. But one of the merchants was talking about how it used to be last year that you could sell all of your products, you would sell out all your products, and you'd have your money, your pesos, and then you would still have to go out and shoot your dinner to be able to eat that night because you still wouldn't have enough money to be able to buy dinner. But things really have changed there. Incredibly, some people here in the United States think that that's not the right way to go, that these ideas are not the correct path for the United States. When I point to Argentina, they say, well, the United States and Argentina are different. Okay, fair. Absolutely true. But the idea that liberty and freedom is a uniquely South American idea, I find highly offensive as an American. And there's this strange, weird breed of resentment politics that has sort of taken over the right. Yeah, you're giving me the thumbs up. And some people are trying to quantify this, and I don't know that they're actually correct. James Lindsay has been kind of having a meltdown online, I would call it, even though I think he's making some good points when he calls out what he calls the woke right. But this idea of, first of all, like, let's define what we're talking about here, because you and I were discussing this before the show, this concept of the woke right. And I didn't really feel as if this was a good term for this phenomenon. I just prefer the term right-wing socialists, right? People who think it's the government's job to plan our businesses and who businesses can hire and fire and who can do business with who and who they can trade with, and all this kind of this resentment politics. But let's define it. What are we really talking about here, Aaron? He calls it woke right. I say right-wing socialist. You said resentment politics. But what does that mean?
It means that, for example, activists, and the way I see it, right? Activists use the state, the middle class activists use the state in order to shape, if you wish. This one is, and all the Argentinians will tell you, this is just Peronism.
Peronism, which is what?
Peronism.
What is Peronism?
Peronism, it will be just quickly some very iconic president in the 50s, somewhere mid-year 1900, the 1900s, mid-1900s, that he was very pragmatic kind of guy. The state would do whatever is needed to stay in power, like literally just get together enough people in, bunch of different groups that probably disagree on a lot, but they agree sufficiently to be put together in one place. And once you win the elections, spread out the budget just to buy goodwill, if you wish. And that's the norm. For me, that's exactly what they're trying to do right now. For example, and this one, and it was even said by Trump, people from the Midwest, mainly Detroit, their population has been collapsing since forever, and the production jobs and all that kind of stuff. A bunch of people were leaving for perfectly rational reasons, and they're saying they want to stop this. What are they going to do? They're not saying, oh, look, let's move to Texas and other states that are growing, because right now the division of labor gives you the signal that something's happening in Texas. You don't need to know the details, but wages and jobs are more available in Texas. So the norm, you can even go to Austin. A bunch of people from Michigan are there. They move over there. They don't want that because obviously I'm trying to be nice to them. I understand that not everyone can quickly move and be like in the entrepreneurial spirit that we have. But at the end of the day is, okay, you're not an entrepreneur. I get it. Not everyone is for this, but please don't ask the state to go and take resources away from the entrepreneurs, from the successful. Don't complain that they have more money. Don't complain that they have more political power.
Right. I see a lot of these right wingers. They're like, I don't want to work 80 hours a week and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, fine. But I mean that you don't get the benefits and the pay and the accreditation and you don't get rewarded for not working as hard as someone who does work 82.5 hours a week, which is, by the way, what I calculated how much I worked on average approximately in 2024, right? But it's some of us do want to work that much, right? And some of us will hire employees who do want to work. Now you should pay them for that, right? But at the end of the day, there's this weird, and I think it has to do with a lot of like the union members who have come into the MAGA coalition. A lot of these kind of like 1990s Democrats who they're not, that's why I don't think woke right really works, because they're not really woke. They're more like, I like to just say they're basically like Elizabeth Warren, but they go to church on Sunday, right? They've got the same political views, economic views as Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren.
The Bernie right.
The Bernie right. The Bernie right. There you go. You know what? We'll try that one, Aaron. The Bernie right.
The Bernie right.
The Bernie bros of the right.
My favorite, because I'm an anti-complaint, is the complaining right. Because I hate complaints. That's literally the way I hate it. But I think Bernie right people are gonna get it because it's everything that Bernie said. They agree with Bernie on everything. Mm-hmm. I cannot even think of something they disagree with, because he was like, except this. I don't even think they disagree all that much in social issues, because Bernie is not super like lefty or progressive on social issues, as far as I know. So I don't even think that they disagree all that much. But that's what they want.
Well, Bernie's an atheist, right? So like a lot of this has to do with the kind of like with the cultural questions that we have in this country, because we're having a huge discussion around whether or not the fact is that only really white people can sustain a nation state that looks after its people. and can produce the kind of prosperity and security that white Americans enjoyed in the United States before the nation was flooded with immigrants and what they call cheap, low-wage labor to replace American citizens. And I mean, these are economic questions. Absolutely. At their heart of it, you can't ignore the economic questions, although some, would willfully like to, but there are cultural questions here. And so the question here is really, in an open borders situation, and I use the term open borders as it was defined by Chica Dalmia of Reason magazine, but most people think of open borders, they think of just anarchy, et cetera, no vetting, right? Just, borders are imaginary lines drawn on maps. But the question of American culture, I mean, Aaron, I think that some of these, what we call maybe resentment right, I think that there's a good point to be made in that American culture is unique and that America is an economic zone, but it's also an idea. It's also a set of cultural values that we agree on. And I wonder what you think about that.
Now, that's the most difficult because, give me 1 second. So I had this going on. Okay. That's a difficult question because it as you said, it's kind of both. Because even on the early in the early days of the United States, no matter how much you wanna slice it, the white people from we usually tend to just call white people Anglos. We usually use the word Anglos a little bit better, but there's a bunch of Germans, and guess what? People hated on Germans.
Oh yeah,
and there's Italians.
I read about the white nationalists were really mad at me. They were like, the founding fathers would be so disgusted by you, Austin. So I went back and reviewed, and I was like, actually, Benjamin Franklin didn't really like Germans. He didn't want Germans coming to. So it wasn't just a white people thing. It was specifically we didn't want people from that nationality, and those people were all white.
The Irish,
yeah.
The Irish and the Italians were treated like garbage.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
And today they're like just white. How to say? They're just regular white.
Yeah, now Italians are considered white.
Yeah. Seriously, I usually say that Italians are European Mexicans because their culture is identical to Mexico. Like literally,
and my friends refer to Argentines as snow Mexicans, but that's just a joke. We're just because
they'll hate you for that.
They'll hate you, I know they will. But the thing about Argentines is that they're very European. So maybe libertarianism could take hold there because of those traits.
Well, in general, they tend to be very influenced by Italian. Usually, they say Argentines are Italians that speak Spanish and dress like English. So they have that kind of mixture, and a lot of people feel comfortable when they go to Buenos Aires. Yes, culture is very important. I'm not denying that at all. And I think we have discussed this before. The open borders discussion was, okay, in my view, it was just a bunch of working permits. You do have to have a job, and you shouldn't be limited. If you have that permit, you shouldn't be limited to that job because, yes, that is a problem when you have a working permit, but you can only work in one place. I understand that. But you do have to have a job. Other than that, they have to kick you out. The discussion behind it, and this is, again, it's kind of like the Bernie Wright thing going on. What they're saying is, yeah, sure. Economically speaking, you're going to have more resources. But a lot of Americans are not entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They don't have that spirit.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, that's perfectly fine. In my extended family, not everyone is like me, and we're okay with that. Perfectly fine. The point is, the problem is that you get to choose to not work really hard because that's what you want, and you find satisfaction in something else. Money is not everything in life. I teach that day one in my econ classes. Money is not everything. It's just the one that most people use, and that's the economic good that most people use. But that's different than saying it's important. But then you get to complain because the other ones have more political power than you. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not
right.
Happen.
It's kind of like we've been listening for the last 3 years to being reminded that America is not a democracy and America is not a democracy. Well, that's right, and money is free speech as affirmed by the Supreme Court decision Citizens United, and I do believe that money is speech, and you should be allowed to spend your money on political activity and to stir people up. And thank God you can to some degree, because without Elon Musk's massive spending and intervention into the political marketplace, marketplace, we might not have had Donald Trump winning. So
Absolutely.
right, at the end of the day, right, if you don't want to work and if you don't want to achieve, that's fine. Your values might be different. You might think money is the root of all evil. I disagree. I more agree with Ayn Rand. But the fact is that we do all have to live together, and I'm not going to diminish you or your capabilities to live the lifestyle that you want to live or intrude on yours, and I would appreciate it if they would not intrude on the entrepreneurial lifestyle and mindset of people like myself. Because frankly, there are times when I have to hire Pajit from Pakistan for a reasonable price. And it's usually actually still not that cheap for me to go to Fiverr.com to get some programming work done at the end of the day.
Austin, maybe this might help everyone, and I haven't been able to put it in writing yet. Think about this. Do people from Detroit have the obligation to give me more money so that my job is more secure, or to give it to their kids' future? Now, what responsibility are we talking? Because that's what they're saying. They're saying that I'm responsible for people in Detroit to have a job. Okay, but that also means that they are responsible for me, and their kids are secondary? Because that's what we're saying. Like, simple as this. If we impose tariffs and limits and all that kind of stuff, that's money that I'm not going to use for my kids.
Yeah.
That's money that I'm going to use.
Right. See, that's the
stranger.
That's the unseen side of this whole equation, is this idea that if I take the money and I spend it on Pajit on Fiverr.com, that the money that I save doesn't go back into the economy in some way, right? That I'm hoarding, this concept that I'm hoarding cash, right? And preventing it from going in America. It's going into the Americans' foods, because I got to hire an American plumber because Pajit can't come all the way over from Pakistan to do that kind of work. But listen, we got to run. We're at the other thing. Any gropes or groans about 2024 or the best of 2024 for you? Final words at the end of the year.
The best, and I was glad that we talked about this, the resentment right, the Bernie right, that this is spilling over just yesterday to Mexico. Some of the most important newspapers. This is what 2024 has given us, right? This idea, there's a left woke and a right woke spill over to Mexico. The idea of trying to find a proper label came from the most pro-Milei Mexican congresswoman, America Rangel, and as I told you, because of this spillover of the discussion, she was saying, "Hey, we need to find a better term, so on and so forth." But think about this. We're working in the United States, South Texas, Mexico City, Buenos Aires, and things are working out because Milei has been doing a great job. That's what we're having this discussion.
So I'm getting ready to post a poll here on X. Here's what it is. Instead of woke right, it's more akin to something like, and here's the 3 poll options I have. Right-wing socialist, resentment right, Bernie Sanders Republicans. Is that all of them, or do we have any more?
I like complaining right.
Complaining right. Okay, I don't like complaining right. It's my poll, so I'm not putting it on there. Okay,
no, that's fine.
All right. Aaron, I love your contributions, man. It's been fantastic this last year. Your contributions to the Wake Up America show have been fantastic, and I know we're definitely going to have you back in 2025 to cover Javier MIlei. Anything else you want to say real quick before we go?
It was great that we all working together.
All working together. Don't tax me, bro. Take care, Aaron. Have a good one. We'll see you in 2025. All right. Start the new year right. Exit through the Griff Shop and get some limited edition coffee. Thank you. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. Nelson65. Happy New Year's. May you all become billionaires, find true love, and be joyful. The kvetching right, the bitching right. You guys are making me laugh. Don't forget to please become a monthly subscriber. The next few months, January, February, March, are the lean times. It's feast and then it's famine. The famine has begun. Become a monthly subscriber, and if you can, gift monthly subscriptions through rumble.com. Apparently you can do that now, like Steelbringer did. Let's all say thank you to Steelbringer for the free subs that he handed out. Appreciate it, guys. And may all your Christmases be white. Have a safe New Year's. Chilling that champagne for newbie. You know what? I got to get me some champagne. You're right. It's been a great year, guys. Thanks so much for all you do. Don't forget, not here tomorrow. We'll be back on Thursday. On Friday, we're doing another giveaway. Department of Government Efficiency bomber jacket. You can only get those at forlibertyshop.com, and you can only be entered to win the jacket if you are a monthly subscriber. And that includes all the people who just got free monthly subs. So there you go. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys on Thursday on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Stay free, guys. Take care. Thanks for everything.
Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
A ground-up approach. Picture a world where freedom thrives, not as a distant dream, but a tangible reality grounded in the adaptability of common law. Libertarianism needs a fresh start, shedding outdated philosophies for practical systems rooted in shared human experience. Traditional libertarianism often leans on abstract ideals and innate rights, making it impractical. These ideologies struggle to address real-world complexities, failing to adapt to society's evolving needs and leaving gaps in their application that undermine the freedom they intend to protect. Enter common law anarchism, a radical yet practical approach. It redefines libertarianism by deriving justice not from abstract laws, but from resolving disputes through adaptable norms. This system acknowledges the dynamic nature of human interaction, offering a framework that evolves with society. Common law emerges from real-life cases and societal norms rather than decrees of centralized power. It has a rich historical pedigree, proven effective over centuries. Its roots in tradition empower communities, providing flexible guidelines for justice and societal order. Common law anarchism's strength lies in its adaptability, evolving with societal changes and challenges. Unlike static legislative systems, it doesn't bind individuals to outdated laws, instead fostering a living set of principles that respond to the current human condition. Justice under common law arises naturally from conflict resolution. By focusing on resolving specific disputes, it emphasizes fair outcomes over rigid procedures. This method creates a more harmonious society where real human experiences shape justice. Imagine a world without a centralized legislative body. Here, common law anarchism thrives, depending on evolved norms rather than imposed laws. This decentralized model empowers individuals while ensuring that peace and order prevail through communal agreement and involvement. Evolved norms under common law anarchism uphold peace while respecting individual autonomy. Just as societies have organically developed over time, these norms protect freedom without sacrificing societal cohesion, balancing peace and personal liberty. Critics argue that common law anarchism might lack authority or uniformity. Yet, its proponents counter that law thrives on local understanding and community standards, offering more equitable justice and greater personal freedoms than centralized systems ever could. Libertarianism, rebuilt from the ground up, can better reflect our society's needs. Let's embrace common law anarchism, bridging the gap between individual freedoms and societal harmony. Engage in dialogue, educate others, and champion this practical evolution of liberty. Become a part of this transformative journey today.